So, President Trump promised a manufacturing boom, but 1 year later, the numbers tell a very different story. Since the tariffs were implemented, 72,000 manufacturing jobs have already been lost. On this issue, Representative Warnock strongly cornered Scott Bessent and effectively shut him down. Bessent was not even able to give a clear answer. Warnock demanded answers from Bessent about why, month after month, factories are not hiring, but instead laying off workers. And so far, 72,000 people have been removed from their jobs. Is this what Trump's manufacturing boom was supposed to be, one that fizzled out before it even began? Today, this is raising serious questions about its impact on American citizens, their jobs, rising costs, and unemployment. Let us take you inside that moment. After that, I will draw conclusions about what negative impact this is likely to have on American citizens in the future.
President Trump promised that his administration would usher in a, quote, golden age of American manufacturing. In September 2024, at a rally in my home state of Georgia, Donald Trump said, quote, "We're going to have a manufacturing boom." Secretary Bessent, we're now more than 1 year into the Trump administration. Yes or no? Has there been a manufacturing boom in the United States?
There are the beginnings of a manufacturing boom. We have intentions, factory groundbreakings, sir.
So your answer to that is yes, there's been a manufacturing boom?
That we are at the beginning of a manufacturing boom.
Okay, you and I could agree to disagree. But more importantly, manufacturers are telling us something different. Manufacturers are struggling because of the president's policies, and that's what they keep telling us, and the facts keep telling us. In fact, just this past Monday, the Wall Street Journal published this article entitled, "U.S. Manufacturing is in Retreat, and Trump's tariffs aren't helping." I request consent to enter this article into the hearing record. Mr. Chairman?
Without objection.
Secretary Bessent, do you know how many manufacturing jobs the United States has lost since Liberation Day in April 2025, when the president first announced his tariffs?
Yes, Senator, because you were out of the room, but it was already brought up.
We do many things, sir. I don't need you to tell me where I was.
72,000, and I will point out that the Wall Street Journal
72,000
is not called the Main Street Journal, and they care more about Wall Street than Main Street.
Sir, I'm not asking you to opine on the Wall Street Journal. I have 3 minutes. Just answer the questions that I'm actually asking you. So 72,000 manufacturing jobs, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Thank you for answering the question. Manufacturers shed workers in each of the 8 months after President Trump unveiled his tariffs on what he called Liberation Day. I would submit that it's a strange liberation and a curious freedom that leaves you unemployed. Even worse, smaller businesses are struggling to keep up with the tariff chaos. Big manufacturers may have the resources to shift suppliers. And I need you to understand the spirit of my questions. I spend a lot of time talking to the people in Georgia who've given me the great honor of representing them in the United States Senate. And so this is about them, and especially our small businesses. They don't have the ear of the president. They don't have access to Mar-a-Lago. And so they're not able to insulate their company from the worst of the tariff. Secretary Bessent, small businesses without the same resources or unfettered access to the president, what should those businesses do for the relief if they can't get into Mar-a-Lago?
Again, sir, small business confidence is up. And we are seeing that the One Big Beautiful Bill gives the full expensing for equipment, factories, and ag structures.
They are telling us that it's more expensive to make basic things. We are moving in the wrong direction. The facts don't lie. The president lies often. But the facts don't lie. In fact, if you're saying we're at the beginning, basically your answer to those small businesses is wait a little while. Is that the answer? That a year from
you ask about manufacturing.
That's right.
So
I'm asking you,
and I am saying
I'm asking you about this manufacturing boom. Will we see something different a year from now?
We are going to see it. I was just in my home state, Senator Scott's state, South Carolina, that we are seeing a boom there. And I believe Georgia has very good pro-business policies. I'm sure you will see a boom there also. The factory build intentions are quite high.
I'll tell you what I see. I see, as I talk to folks, that it's more expensive to build things in America. I see that we've lost 72,000 jobs a year into this administration. We've lost manufacturing jobs every month since he called for Liberation Day. And meanwhile, folks who are working in these small businesses trying to make their lives work, they're seeing higher costs. They're seeing their costs go up for groceries. They're seeing their costs go up for electricity. They're seeing their costs go up for health care. And I think the American people are still waiting for a solution. So far, we haven't seen one coming out of this Trump tariffs regime. The Baptist preacher is done, and I have no time left. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Inflation.
The exchange that unfolded in this hearing cut straight to the heart of President Trump's manufacturing promise. During the campaign and after returning to office, Trump repeatedly promised a golden age of American manufacturing, claiming tariffs would spark a historic boom in factory jobs across the United States. More than a year into the administration, that claim is now being tested against hard data. In this hearing, Raphael Warnock directly questioned Scott Bessent on whether that promised manufacturing boom has actually materialized. Warnock's question was simple and direct. Yes or no, has there been a manufacturing boom in the United States? Bessent did not give a clear yes or no answer. Instead, he described what he called the beginning of a manufacturing boom, pointing to future intentions, factory groundbreakings, and long-term plans rather than current job growth. This distinction mattered because Warnock was not asking about future hopes. He was asking about present-day outcomes. Warnock then shifted the discussion away from intentions and toward measurable results. He cited recent reporting and government data showing that manufacturing jobs have declined, not increased, since tariffs were announced. According to data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the United States has lost approximately 72,000 manufacturing jobs since April 2025, when President Trump unveiled his tariffs on what he called Liberation Day. That number became the central tension of the hearing. While the administration describes a manufacturing revival in progress, the job data shows manufacturers shedding workers month after month. Warnock emphasized that manufacturing employment declined in each of the 8 months following the tariff announcement, directly contradicting the idea of an active boom. To reinforce the point, Warnock referenced an article published by the Wall Street Journal titled, "U.S. Manufacturing is in Retreat, and Trump's Tariffs Aren't Helping." The article describes how higher input costs, trade uncertainty, and disrupted supply chains have made it more expensive for manufacturers to operate in the United States. Warnock formally entered the article into the hearing record, grounding his argument in independent reporting rather than partisan opinion. Bessent attempted to push back by downplaying the relevance of the Wall Street Journal, arguing that it represents Wall Street interests rather than Main Street concerns. Warnock immediately shut that down, stating clearly that he was not asking for commentary about the media but for answers based on facts. His focus remained on workers and businesses experiencing the consequences of current policy. The hearing then moved to what may be the most politically sensitive issue: small businesses. Warnock argued that while large manufacturers may have the resources to shift suppliers, absorb higher costs, or lobby for exemptions, small businesses do not. Many small manufacturers lack direct access to the administration and cannot insulate themselves from tariff-related cost increases. Warnock framed this as a fairness issue. Small business owners, particularly in states like Georgia, are facing higher production costs without clear relief. When Warnock asked what those businesses should do if they cannot gain access to the president or his inner circle, Bessent pointed to broader economic indicators and provisions in major legislation, including tax incentives and equipment expensing. But Warnock rejected that answer as disconnected from reality. He emphasized that the people he represents are not talking about long-term incentives or future projections. They are talking about higher prices today. According to Warnock, manufacturers are paying more for raw materials, small businesses are seeing operating costs rise, and workers are facing job losses at the same time that household expenses for groceries, electricity, and healthcare continue to climb. This is where the hearing reached its sharpest contrast. On one side, the administration is arguing that manufacturing growth is coming. On the other, the record shows job losses, rising costs, and growing uncertainty. Warnock summarized that contrast plainly. A policy described as liberation is leaving tens of thousands of Americans without jobs. By the end of the exchange, no clear evidence was presented to show that a manufacturing boom is currently underway. what was presented repeatedly.